All right. So we are in the green room tonight with Bruce Watson.
Woo!
You know, and I got to tell you again, I just before we went live, I said I almost want to just show one of your VIB episodes because it's way more entertaining than I could ever be.
Well, fired up, man.
So let's get this plug in right off
Let's do it.
because this is what I've heard. People will come back and maybe start to watch it, and they'll watch maybe the first 5 minutes. So let's get this in right off the bat.
Okay.
And I'm going to give me a second so I
Go
can
for it.
fire this up, and I will play. This should be no, that's not. Yeah. That's it. That's your VIB. And let me
Got
get
it.
this. All right, here we go, full screen. And
Oh,
if I
it's
had a
working.
wonderful assistant, I would be able to have somebody else have this
Yeah.
done. Okay, so here we go. This is your VIB show.
Yeah.
You know what's wrong with
that thing sounded so good. I just wanted it to keep going, man.
Yeah, we got double. You know, the thing's problem with that intro is nothing.
Oh, you know what?
It
You know
does
who
exact-
cooked up that little intro?
No, who was that?
These two guys right here.
We did, I guess.
We did.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We make hits. We crush the hits, Brucey.
Someone's got to, pump us up. It's got to be us. Whoa, that shirt. That is a good looking
Look
shirt.
at that. Look at
Check
that.
it out. You know how in line we are so aligned.
Oh, man, that was a very
Oh.
Bruce. I have to say that was a very superhero like reveal. That you did there.
It was great.
It was, but it had authority, and I respected it. I felt like you are to be respected.
You are too.
All right.
Wow, man.
All
so
right,
let's
so
see. Here we are.
I'm
It's
going to,
Sunday for us.
All right, so now I'm back on us. Now, how do people, if people want to watch that, how do they get? I mean, obviously, I could keep watching it for another, the whole thing, but I have questions I want to ask you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So if people want to watch that, how do they tune into that? Where do they find that?
If you just go to YouTube and enter v, Foreigner VIB or Bruce Watson VIB, it'll pop up. We've done only 3 episodes, so we're just we're just laying it out on the universe. But we're gonna do them weekly now. We have special guests. We had Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick on last time. We're gonna have Kelly Hansen, the singer of Foreigner. He's gonna be on this Sunday. So we're just gonna keep rolling them out, and it's fun, man. It's really fun.
All right. So I'm just going to bring this into another context of what you're doing now. You're playing with Foreigner. And when I called you the other night, you said, how long was it since we've talked? And I think it was, 9 years or something. We playing in this silly Pizza Hut pizza joint. And that was the last time we talked because right after that, I believe you got this gig with Foreigner.
Yeah,
And
I mean that makes sense because I've been doing it for almost 9 years. So there you go.
yeah. And that is one gig other than hanging out with you and Bruce Atkinson and Mark Levang and some of those guys.
Yeah.
Other than that, that was really a shit gig.
No, everything was great about the gig except the guy who owned the place. He was a jerk.
Yeah.
And
That's sort of what I meant.
anybody who watches you like do your show right here, they can tell. Like this is a nice guy. If you have any desire to get along with a human being, you could probably get along with Jeff here. The guy's going to get along with you, but that guy wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it.
No, you're right. He refused to be easygoing. He just refused.
He's lucky I don't remember his name because I'd be rolling it out right now. So I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to call him out because I don't know his name. Let's move on to more happy moments.
Right. All right. So, how did you get the gig with Foreigner? And then so tell me a little bit about that, and then I'm going to dig back further.
Okay. It was 2011, and we're doing like an arena tour with Journey, and Mick Jones, who's the leader and founder of Foreigner and guitar player. In the middle of the tour, he fell ill, like quite ill, and had to actually remove himself from the tour. And they were in a real bind. They had Joel Hoekstra was playing with Night Ranger, and so Joel, I mean, wow, on 24 hours notice, he jumped in and started doing the gig just to cover, until they figured out how soon Mick was going to be able to come back. Was he going to come back in a, you know, 2 days, or knew what was happening? It was all up in the air. Big tour, lots of money online, big venues, and but that wasn't a permanent solution to have Joel from the opening act play. So they had to get somebody at some point. After about a week, they realized, way. And some of the guys in the band threw out a name or two, but the drummer, Mark Schulman, who now plays with Pink, but he does a bunch of other stuff. But Mark was playing drums with Foreigner at the time, and he very strongly put my name forward. And to this day, I'm like, wow, he really kind of put his reputation on the line. You can ask him if he thinks it was good or not. But yeah, I came in. I mean, I had more, but it was just way not enough time to prepare for that kind of gig. And so I flew in, and I played mixed guitar and mixed rig. I just, jumped into it. And I've never seen or heard the first show or two, and I never want to, because I know they weren't that good. But and then it was just like, when he was gone for quite a while. The question was, is he going to? I mean, okay, well, it's like, well, thanks for helping us out, Bruce. We'll see you mix back. And we hit it off, and he chose to keep me on. So now he's unable to do, like we do, 100, at least 110 shows a year, up to 130 plus shows a
Really?
year. And Mick, at this point, he can't really do all those shows. He does have some ongoing health issues, not serious stuff, but just stuff he can't be at 70 plus years old. So when he's not there, I get to play his part. And when he is there, I stand next to him and we rock. And it's a great relationship with him, and it's a great relationship with the band. The songs are great. I still really love the songs, and the fans are great. The gigs are great. Let's see, what's not great? Being gone hundreds of days a year, that's not the great part, but that's that.
Well, let me play just a little bit of that of this opening, just in case there's anybody watching that doesn't know anything about Foreigner, which that would only be like my 14-year-old daughter.
She might know. She might.
she, so I'm going to roll this, and because I thought this was really cool. This is on your Facebook page, and go there, and we'll. Boom. I can't wait until I can actually get somebody physically in my house to do this for me.
Yeah, a few more months with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome
All right, everybody on your feet. It's time to rock. You know why? It's urgent. You're not shy. You get around. You wanna fly. Don't want you.
Okay, so
That is Jeff. That's the kookiest mix, because what you were telling me about this great program for speaking is
right?
really funky for music.
I know you're right.
It sounds like a board mix with the lead vocal and Mick Jones guitar soloed. That's what
Well,
it sounds like.
and that's kind of how it sounds too. Yes.
Yeah.
And what I got to say, and I've had some conversations with these people about this platform, is they optimize the audio to good for voices. So it's, music is kind of not all that good, but you get a little bit of a sense of what it is.
Yeah.
So that's your gig. And what I noticed is you're doing a lot of jumping around, and I'm guessing your shows are an hour and a half or
Yep, 90 minutes usually.
90 minutes. And
Yeah,
at 110 dates a year, that's a busy schedule, because I don't think people realize uh, when you're traveling, you don't get to sleep a lot because you do a lot of buses, a lot of planes, a lot of cars, and then you're on the
yeah,
stage, sound check. The entire day gets taken up magically by just stuff.
yeah.
And is that sort of what it's been like for you? Just nonstop, just going?
Yes, I could just put a period on that. Yes, and that's why this is the reason that I'm at home for an extended period. It's an unfortunate reason, but I have to say that it's doing me good mentally, physically. I just feel I'm recharging totally. It's been, and listen, some of the other guys in the band who've been in the band longer than I have been grinding it out for a couple years longer. And so anyway, it's just the gig, a dream gig, but there's just the fact of doing that many shows is just a beatdown, and it's exhausting. So at the end of the
Right,
year,
right.
it's just like, wow, you're just toast, totally toasted.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that brings us into the next thing that I wanted to do. And I think this is really fascinating. And again, this is optimized for, uh, the music doesn't sound all that good, but
Yeah,
I thought this was really cool. I want to play a little bit of this, and then I want to get a couple more stories and the
yeah.
guitar that you picked up. So let
Oh,
me
okay.
let me bring this up, and boom, because this is fun too. And I found all kinds of fun stuff about you on this. Here we go.
I'm not going to take you through all the guitars that I have because it would be really exhausting for me and super boring for you. But they kind of start over here with baritone guitars, banjos, basses, a couple strats, Telecasters, various guitars, mounted high, mounted low, and I'm able to just grab them off the wall when I want them, and it's a blast. But let me just start with this guitar is a 1976 Martin Herringbone D28. And I played this on more than any guitar I think I own as far as recordings go. It's just magnificent. And the funny story about this was I went in and played on a version of Christina Aguilera, her first record, Genie in a Bottle. Their second single was What a Girl Wants. And the producer, he called me in, and we just played, built up a version of the song. There were bass players and drummers, and I put acoustic guitar and a bunch of electric guitars, and never heard about it. 6 months later, he calls me and said, that song you played on, for that girl, Christina, she turned out to be a pretty big deal. I was like, oh, yeah, no, I haven't heard of her yet. Well, we've heard of her now. But the funny thing is, they went through multiple incarnations of the song, multiple bass players, drummers, arrangements, many more guitar players. But this guitar made it to all the cut of all those variations of the song. What a girl wants, what a girl needs. Something like that. Anyway, that's this guitar. It made
All
the
right.
cut.
So
It survived.
now that leads me into what I want to know about all the stuff you were doing before I met you, and the studios and everything, because apparently now I'm learning you played studio stuff with on Christina Aguilera's first album.
Well, that was the only track. That was the only. It's so funny. Yeah, I mean that was the funny thing. That's why I kind of I laugh about it because I was one guitar part away from not being on the record at all. So it's
What?
I was not a major contributor, but yeah, I just think that's funny how that was a long time ago, and that was sort of at a time where production was such that you could with computers you could bring in 1,000 people and keep all their stuff and then mix and match and songs would morph. Um, but yeah, I guess before I was in Foreigner, I was making my living doing studio stuff, and it was great. I mean, it's the grass is always greener because at that time I would have, I'm sure, yeah, I was, to go play in a big rock band and play in front of, thousands and thousands of people every night. That's a great thing, and I'm sure I was craving that. But I do miss the daily walking in and not knowing what you're going to do and having to come up with something. And it was very invigorating and it's great, fulfilling.
So, your room, how many guitars do you have?
Well, I have to say that I'm not a collector because I probably can't afford to be. um, it's probably, you know, 50-ish,
50.
60. I mean, but again, that would include like a mandolin and, just various kinds of stuff. But it's not really a vast collection, and it's not. There are a couple guitars that are really sweet, but it's a functional collection. It's just I got these guitars to fill in um, niches of creativity and function, really. So
So,
they're not like, oh God, I'm going to fill this in because I'm going to invest in it and someday it'll pay off. That's not what that was about for me.
well, well, I think that I'm getting the idea that every guitar almost has a story, and you picked up one because you remember I had Bernie Dressel on this afternoon,
Right.
and you said, "Oh, there's a guitar right there. I did a session with Bernie." What?
Yeah, it's and it was back. It was way long time ago for a company called it was like Jeff Cause Music, I think it was. And speaking of smooth jazz, that's Dave Cause's brother, successful composer and owned a production company. And really, as far as TV commercials, he was one of the biggest. And so I met so many amazing musicians working for him and people like him back like in the 90s. And I just have a flash of this one doing a session and Bernie Dressel was playing drums. And I remember it was kind of a surf track. So we'd lay down the basic track and I was doing an overdub. And for some reason, I was doing the control room and Bernie was just hanging out and he was sitting kind of right in front of me. And and I remember that this is the guitar I was playing. He would trip out probably if he knew that I was remembering all this. It's a Sears Silvertone, and I was playing this guitar, and I remember it was like in the key of E, and it was a surf track, like maybe it was I don't even know what it was, something like it, just some surf kind of thing. And I had an idea of a lot of surf songs. You'll hear this particular riff, and they'll go like,
Oh, yeah.
so you need the vibrato arm to do that. So I had the inspiration to make that happen, but I didn't have a vibrato arm on this guitar, so I remember just doing the track, and then I just reached over and I don't know if you can see the tuner.
Yeah.
And I remember Bernie looking at he just started laughing. And what a really goofy thing that's still in my memory. It was a meaningless moment, but it was cute. And
Yeah.
yeah,
But those are the kind of things that makes all of those times special because you just think about stuff and you do it and you try it and like, and it comes out on the record and it works great.
yeah. And I don't
So
want to be like I don't want to be on a fuddy duddy because I think you really have to embrace where things are now. And there's so much great stuff about the way music is made now. But what was happening then when music was made is you had to get people together to make it. And so it was just so much more live playing and interaction, just socially and musically with killer musicians like Bernie.
right. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because now, especially now with everybody's stopped, including you guys, we're
Yeah,
looking for ways to play or be creative and work together. And the recording industry has been going more to you can almost do it in the bedroom and do your home studio. But
yeah.
in those days, it was you had to get together and play together, and it was many times the hang was more fun than the music.
Well, for sure. They just were like this. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so what were some of the other where did you grow up?
In San Fernando Valley, born and raised in Encino, California.
Really? So you just grew up here and what did
Did
it feel uh and did you start playing guitar at a young age?
I started playing probably around 11 or 12. I wanted to be a drummer very badly, and I mean I had no vision about guitar at all. And I remember for one Christmas I was like, God, I want a drum set. What do you want for Christmas? I want a drum set. They're like, oh, okay. I want drums. I want drums. And I saw they were kind of like, okay, well, we'll see. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen. I'm going to get drums. So, Christmas Eve comes and then Christmas morning, I wake up, I'm running out, expecting to see this drum kit out in front of a Christmas tree. And I will come out and it's a concert snare drum mounted on like a stand with like a 6-inch cymbal, a pair of brushes, and a pair of sticks. And that was the drums. Like they thought, like, well, let's get him started with this and see how it goes. It's like I was like, oh,
Oh,
and I just it was I couldn't make it happen, you know. So
oh.
yeah, but guitar followed shortly thereafter. Actually, so
It, so
whatever.
you, I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. I didn't really hear what you said. You froze up.
It was pretty boring. Anyway,
Are
clearly.
you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Internet
All
has
right.
gotten
So
sketchy.
it has, and the good news is even the major TV stations are having an issue with this. So
Yeah,
everybody's getting used to the fact that stuff happens.
right.
So what was it like growing up being a guitar player? When you started playing in bands and stuff in high school, did you start playing in bands?
Yeah, as soon as possible. That would mean like I started. I'm not a religious person at all, like zero. Formally religious, but I did go to Catholic school. I did 12 years of Catholic school, so um, I am grateful for the fact that they had like I could play in church. You know, that was immediately I could get up and start playing like 3, 4 chord church songs in front of people, and I loved it. Um, so, and then as soon as I could know enough chords to play "Take It Easy," I started getting people together and trying to do gigs, play with a band, trying to write songs very shortly thereafter. And yeah, I mean, definitely a band
It,
guy.
and there's a lot of guys. So there was a lot of guys around to play with in those days, right? Or
Well, there were, but you know, thank God I would have been intimidated to probably put the instrument down if I'd really known that Mike Landau and Steve Lukather and all these guys were like, a couple years older than me, right down the street. I mean, literally, I went to school like, a couple mile away from where they went to school. I mean, I didn't really, they weren't on the radar yet. Toto
Mhm.
hadn't happened yet. So thank God, it would have been a little intimidating. But I think that it just felt very natural to play like rock music uh, in LA at that time. And then as I got a little older, as soon as I became of age and was able to go to clubs, I mean, my God, in the like the 80s, just crazy guitar player. I mean, musicians central. LA
Yeah,
was the center of the universe, but for guitar
yeah,
players, Jesus, Larry Carlton and Lukather and Landau and Jay Graydon and all these guys, you could go see them at the Baked Potato or small clubs and nowhere else on the earth could you do that. So
right.
that was really cool. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
So and the reason why I think that because when I was growing up, I was in Nebraska. I grew up there, and I couldn't get away fast enough.
Yeah,
And all I could think about was what was it going to be like if I grew up in that kind of environment where you could go see guys like that all the time. And when I finally got to LA in like the early 80s and went to some clubs and saw it was frightening. It's like every club you walk into, everybody you could play was killer, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
uh, so
Well,
after you did
it
that,
was
I mean,
intimidating.
yeah, right. I mean, what are you supposed to do when like the first two drummers I saw were Vinny Colaiuta and Hal Blaine,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, what, 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 you
I
know,
know,
and
man. I know. I
and
know.
they're just hanging out, playing.
Yeah, amazing.
Um, so how did you get into session work?
Oh, it was a very pivotal moment. I had an original band, and the girl singer at the time, she started doing sessions as a vocalist. This was in 1990, maybe 90, 90, yeah, somewhere around there. And the gentleman who I met Bernie through, Jeff Cause, he came down to see her sing. He came to see our band, original band, playing at some club in LA, to see her sing. And I mean, it still blows me away to this day. But he then like a couple of days later, I get a call from his production person saying, "This is Kathy from Jeff would like to know if you'd like to come up and if you were able to come up on tomorrow and play on some sessions." I'm like, I didn't read music at all. I'd never done a session. I'd recorded a little bit, but so if this was like I was way underqualified for this. But I think fortunately he saw what I did. He wanted me to do the thing that he saw. He didn't want me to come in and read some chart of some jazz thing. He knew, the thing that I was doing. Whatever. that didn't require me to read, and
You,
so
you
he
froze
kind
up.
of got comfortable those there meeting other musicians through that environment, and it just kind of snowballed. And we have to also acknowledge at that time that it was the huge moment of transition between very slick um, music played by amazing LA musicians could read
You,
with sophistication. It required a certain attitude. It required, an artistry. But anyway, that opened the door for me to be able to improve my
so
skills.
Bruce, I got to say, unfortunately, the feed was breaking up a lot during that
Yeah.
story, and I really only got to hear bits and pieces of it.
Well, read my book, man.
Do you have a book?
No, I don't have a book. I don't have a book. I have enough stuff to write one though, but I
Right.
haven't written it yet.
You know, well, yeah, well, so that's the kind of thing. Now, um, I could hear that you weren't a reader, and you were just kind of thrown into these sessions and playing. And
Yeah.
so, what were some of the musicians that you got to play with and work with, and things that you got called for that were really cool, that you, when you look back, like, man, that was,
Yeah.
I'm really glad I did that one. That one was really
Yeah.
cool.
I, I, I just remember in terms of people that I met, oh, wow, man. I mean, like Greg Bissonette and Matt Bissonette. Um, um, God, I'm kind of blanking because just about everybody there were so many guys who were heroes of mine as a musician. I'd have to really start to put together all the people that I met at that time because now I just sort of put them in a category of, people that I could run into and say hello to. But I'm kind of blanking, but I really,
Yeah.
jingles there were so many jingles and anybody would come to a jingle. Like, um, no one was above it because it was very lucrative at the time. So you'd
Mhm.
go in and do a demo for $150 and maybe, you do three or four of them. And if one of them went, then it was a union situation. And there's nobody really, other than like Michael Jackson or that kind of thing, that wouldn't come in and do a jingle. So at
Right.
that time, anybody would come and do it. Vinnie Colaiuta would do a jingle. Anybody
Yeah.
would.
Yeah. So there were, in the 80s. Now, I talked to Mitch Foreman for a while because he was doing that same thing in New York City. And during the 80s, I believe, and maybe into the early 90s, it was a unique time because of all of that kind of work,
Yeah,
where you had to you had to get musicians together to do those and play them, and you couldn't just write it and do it all in your own home studio.
right.
So um, I don't know if we'll ever get back to anything like that. What do you think? I mean,
I don't think that will be because there were large budgets to accommodate all those people, all
yeah,
the all of the logistics. So the budgets, I just think music is kind of been devalued by the fact that most of it's for free now. So I just don't think we're ever gonna have the money to make all that happen again. So,
right,
um,
right,
but the funny thing is, it just occurred to me that back then you'd have certain people who were at a certain level as artists, and they'd be like, "Well, I don't do jingles," and I understood this. Yeah, I mean, you're on the next level. I don't know anybody who wouldn't do a jingle today. Like if you create the same scenario, I'm going in to play with amazing musicians, going there banging it out, being creative, and then what it could possibly pay. But it was just so much fun,
right, right,
and the musicianship was always excellent. So I think anybody would look back and go like, oh, yeah, I would do that now.
right, right. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, the thing that I get from a lot of guys when we talk about any situation or any band or a deal like that is um, the fact that musically, generally speaking, everybody is sort of on the same level. That really isn't the most fun of those situations. A lot of time, it's the hang with the guys,
yeah,
and from what I was seeing between you and Michael, for example, you guys must have a lot of fun on the road together because you've
we
become
do.
good friends, and then those same kind of situations happen, and some of the funniest moments in those studio sessions can happen too, like you with the little guitar tuning thing. I mean those are the kind of things that are priceless, and we kind of missed. It's the connection between people.
Yeah, yeah, and well, in a band, and being in a touring band like Foreigner, you have to bear in mind that the show is only 90 minutes, and the rest of the time is on a vehicle traveling somewhere, multiple vehicles, or waiting between a meet and greet, or so we're as opposed to being interfacing with lots of different groups of musicians, we are interfacing all the time together. And fortunately, we laugh a lot, and we get along quite well, and we know how to navigate if someone's having a less than spectacular day. We just know how to navigate around that, and we're all tight, and we laugh our asses off.
Yeah.
We
So
do. It's really fun.
there's quite a fan base for Foreigner. I didn't realize that there was such a fan base.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I Want to Know What Love Is was a global #1 hit. It was really worldwide. So that
Yeah.
opens the door, even like Bulgaria, or I mean, it's just amazing the people that everybody knows Foreigner. I mean, everywhere you go in the world, really.
Right. So do you notice I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I just keep coming up with questions. So are there different countries that are more receptive and more appreciative than others? Let's say the United States, for example. Sometimes people may not be as appreciative as Europe.
Well, the United States is such a big country. I think regionally you can cite differences in that thing. And that, I mean, the big cities. People appreciate Foreigner. I never feel we never feel underappreciated. The crews are
Mm,
always really great. But I know what you're saying, and I think it's more of a either it's socioeconomic or cultural in that like maybe the coasts are
right.
could be a little more reserved. But if you go like to Louisiana or Texas or they love their Foreigner, man. They love their rock and roll. And
Right.
so they're really appreciative. And certain countries in Europe, I think culturally, like they'd be more demonstrative than others. If I had to say, I mean, I love going to England and I love going to Germany. Germany certainly appreciates Foreigner more than England, even though half the band is British. Um,
Um,
so yeah, that is a thing. That's definitely a thing.
so I, uh, the original band, there was a couple of British people in the original band. I didn't know
Right.
that.
Yeah,
See,
half British, half American.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And um, uh, so the fact that there was a Britain has such a history of rock music, though,
Yes, they do.
right?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of competition for the listener there,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?
True that. True. True. True.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you too, though, before I met you, or just as I had met you, you had just come off of an injury. What happened to you?
Oh yeah. Well, it was from playing guitar, and it was certainly a result of repetitive motion. And I believe a lot of it was from sitting in the studio with a guitar um, like this in my lap and just jamming the shoulder down, just
Yeah.
poor ergonomics.
Yeah.
Um, and I developed ulnar nerve syndrome in my elbow, which is where the nerve gets pinched off in the elbow. But it really originated in my upper back in the thoracic region. So nerves were getting bunched up in the upper part of my back, which was pulling on all the other structure down here, which was making the nerve that passes, it's your funny bone nerve, passes over your elbow. It was getting pulled and constantly being aggravated. And I was just losing strength and it hurt really badly. And I was in denial about it and thought I could just power through. And I eventually had to accept my mortality and humanity, and I had to stop playing for about a year. And I didn't know, of course, when I had to make that decision, it's like, is this a forever thing, or
Hmm.
it'll be a month or 6 months? So that was character building, shall we say?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that forced me into getting a computer and recording, and this was in like 2000, 99, 2000, and so I got that together, and I didn't like learning it, but I'm pretty fluent in it now. So that was a good transition, but that was not a happy time to not play guitar.
No. No. Yeah. So
But I'm back, baby.
right, but
Yeah,
now you are absolutely. And is this a home studio that you have there with all the guitars? I mean, do you
yeah,
uh
yeah.
and um do you have I want to know some more stories of guitars. Do you have any guitars there that are a story waiting to be told?
Let me look down the line. Oh, I do. I do. This,
Okay.
I just saw this guitar and this is hysterical. God, hold on a second.
Okay. All right.
This is really funny. I'm actually am embarrassed, but you have to remember the times. So look at this thing. This
Wow.
screams like 90s or
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s. It's a really nice playing guitar. It's really well made. It's a Tom Anderson Strat. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I played a couple gigs with Rod Stewart, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the first ones I brought to a rehearsal this guitar, and this is and he's a classic dude. He's his favorite guitar player. Someone forced me to tell me this. If he ever asks who your favorite guitar player is, you better say Chuck Berry, or you're not gonna fly. Like that's where he's at, Chuck Berry.
Okay. Okay.
So anyway, I don't remember what song we were playing, but it was a rehearsal or a sound check, and I had this guitar and I'm playing it. And he walked over to me while I'm playing. I have to take my phone to even show you. And he's like, so I'm Rod, and he's walking up to me. He's going like, and he
Again.
gets down and he puts his ear down to my speaker cabinet. He's like
Hold
listening
your
right out of
your
the cat.
hands
Oh,
over
sorry.
your mouth.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go. There you go.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
his head's down, listening to my cabinet while I'm playing. He's fucking with me for sure.
Yeah.
And and then he got back and he's standing and he looked at the guitar and he goes and he said when he stopped he said, "Are you sure that's a guitar you should be playing?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." He's like, "Okay, all right." I mean, he, because it didn't sound bad. I know it didn't sound bad, but he just was like, "What the fuck is that guitar, man?" It's like, it looks like a spaceship. Um, I've never told that story. That's pretty funny.
Oh man. So what?
Yeah.
So what you do? Did you keep playing it
So
or?
no, no, no. So then you remind me what happened. Then the guitar player Jeff Golub.
Uh
I
huh.
don't know if you know about him. He was a God rest his soul. He passed on, but he was playing lead guitar with Rod at the time, and he said, "Here, man, like for the gig tonight, maybe you should just play this." He handed me an old telly. He said, "Just
Hmm.
play this on the gig, and everything will be cool." So I did. Everything was cool. But I learned, man. It's like an awareness of appropriateness, of perception.
Hmm.
You know, um, yeah, that was actually a really good
So
lesson.
so in a nice way, he was saying, "I don't really like how that guitar sounds." Basically.
Looks. He says he doesn't like the way it looks, and if I don't like the way it looks, it probably doesn't sound good either. I mean, that's probably what was happening. It doesn't matter how it sounds. Actually, it's like that's on my stage. And I don't really like the way that looks.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
do you think it's funny? Did you ever get any other of those kinds of experiences about uh, they don't like the color of something or how it looks, but sound is fine, but it's not giving the right look
Yeah.
because they're concerned about image.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, clothing is a big one.
Do you
Um,
have that now? Do you get that kind of feeling with Foreigner or
oh
no?
God, no, no. I mean, like,
No,
no. I
that's
mean, listen. I mean, when I first in the first month, it was like,
mhm.
yeah, they were trying to make sure. I mean, I had to sort of be aware of how everyone dressed and like you have to look like you're part of the unit. So
Yeah,
there's a little adaptation there, and just but I mean, no, that's a long time gone.
yeah.
But
It
I'm
would.
aware of that stuff. It's like if I went to go and play with like a really deep country artist. I mean, now everything's different. I was about to say that, but like everyone looks like they're rocking, so it doesn't matter anymore. But
Right.
just
Actually, yeah, everybody has kind of a rock vibe to them now. It's
yeah,
kind of the same across the board.
right, right.
And I can't pull it off. I can't. I just look like a silly kid from Nebraska and I can't change it. It doesn't I'm still ding nigga ding nigga ding nigga ding. I just
You can get some stencil tattoos, man. Get some,
right. Yeah,
on
I
your
can't
wife beater.
yeah, wife beaver. Yeah, roll up a pack of cigarettes in the arm or
Right,
something.
right,
Yeah.
right,
uh,
right. You could
Um
do it, Jeff. I'll work with you on it if you want.
no, no, no. Yeah, but then I'm still the same personality though. I
Ah,
can't necessarily sport the
no,
look.
that's good. That's best of both. If you can look like whatever you look like, but then be a very nice, workable person, that's winning.
Yeah, so
Nobody wants assholes, man. Anywhere. Nobody. Don't you agree? Like,
no,
you know,
absolutely. So now you're an easy guy to get along with. So as you work then through what other tours did you do? Because you did the Rod Stewart thing. What other tours, even if they were short lived,
yeah.
what others did you do?
Everything was really pretty well. I did a couple that weren't that short, but once I started doing sessions, I had no desire or reason to leave that work
Mm,
environment. So I was like,
mhm.
all through the 90s and the 2000s, people did ask me to tour, and I most of the time politely would say no thanks.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah, it was just there was no reason to. I mean, it was I felt like I was building. I was building a. Listen, I wasn't the top guy, that's for sure. So I was trying to be, like I wasn't at a Tim Pierce level of that kind of level of working every day, super high profile records.
Mm,
Mine was a mixed bag of work, but I was building stuff, and I had a career that was working. So
hmm.
um, the first tour I ever did was with Bobby Kimball, singer of Toto. It
Yeah.
was great. It was great.
it-
And then after that, it was with Patti Smythe of Scandal. Remember the band Scandal, The Warrior?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
Goodbye to You. That was pretty. She was rather famous.
yeah.
And we opened for when Rod Stewart did his Unplugged record.
Uh-huh.
That's Patti Smythe was opening for him. We did like I don't know months and months of touring with Rod, and that's how I met that whole camp and
Hmm.
sort of got connected with those guys. And
Was was Katya Reicherman playing sax anytime when you were with Rod?
no,
She might have came
no,
after.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then it's tours. I mean, I would go do some gigs and things out of town, but I can't even recall anything that was more than like a handful of gigs at a time
Hmm.
because I just wasn't seeking it.
Yeah. And uh and why would you want to I went and did a little short thing with Tower on monitors, and the minute I came back home, I sat down and said, "Yeah, I like my sofa. I
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I would rather stay in town and do my little $400 or $500 sound gigs at the shopping center or somebody's backyard, and
yeah, yeah.
and come and sleep and sleep in my own bed. I kind of like that.
Totally. No, it's a much more sane way to live. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, a little bit though, with the tour being, did you have dates lined up that then got canceled?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
We had a 40 city tour, Live Nation tour booked across the states with Kansas.
oh,
It was going to be a big tour. It's going to be a big summer.
yeah.
I just talked to our manager today. Just today, they officially Live Nation officially canceled it today. They were
Oh,
for whatever reason holding out, to the last minute. But
and working with Kansas would be fun. I have a little story I want to tell you. When I was a kid
yeah,
playing drums in Nebraska and Kansas, I went and was meeting this manager in Lawrence, Kansas.
I've been there.
We were at some little diner, and this kid was across the room, said, hey, come. The agent knew him, said, "Hey, Robbie, come here. Hey, Robbie." And he comes over, and he's got hair kind of like big curly hair, but afro-y kind of thing. And we were talking, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to start this band. We're going to call it Kansas." And we all joked with him, "Yeah, that's a real original,"
Oh wow,
right?
wow.
And I only remember that because I was just a kid, and they were teasing with him, and now looking back, I wish I would have known.
Yeah, yeah. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kansas is still out there touring and doing really well.
Hmm.
But hopefully we'll pick that up. I don't know if it'll be the following year, but no one can predict any of that stuff right now. We don't even know when we're going to resume at all. We just don't. No one can say.
Yeah.
So it's
Or has the band or anybody tried to do any kind of online stuff with you to sort of keep the fans wet the whistle a little bit with the
well,
fan?
that's what we're doing with our VIB.
Oh,
By
okay.
the way, VIB stands for very important beers,
Hmm.
and we do those live. This all started not virtually. It started on tour. We'd be in a certain city with a day off, and we would go. Okay, and I have to even start out earlier and say that Michael and I are certified beer servers. It's a certification. There's a 4 levels of certification you can achieve through the Cicerone program. It's actually a really legit thing. So
Okay.
we've passed the first level, which is a certified beer server. So we can speak with brewers and people who know about beer, and we can speak knowledgeably. So with that, we go to breweries around the country, and we'll go and we'll play 4 or 5 songs. We'll chat about people come, they buy tickets, and it's like 100, 200 people will show up, and we'll hang out and we'll drink beers, and so those were our VIB events that we've been doing
Okay.
in real life. And
Uh-huh.
since we couldn't do them, we switched over to the virtual version for now. So I'm answering your question about what we're doing with Foreigner to sort of keep people's attention. That's one of the things. And we're probably going to be doing some live broadcasting, possibly from my studio, where I have three separate spaces that have three separate entrances
Okay.
that you can close off from one another. So we're talking about having me and Kelly, the singer, in another room where he enters from a separate entrance, and then Michael, the keyboard player, enter from another entrance, and we'd be able to do some really live broadcasting, not like fake broadcasting where you put a track together and then people get their iPhones and take video of it. That's
Right, right,
that's
right.
not live. So we'd be able to do the real thing, hopefully. So
Yeah.
that could be coming pretty soon.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Now, do you know what kind of which format you're going to use or going for?
Zoom at the moment, I think, is what we're looking
Okay,
at.
yeah.
So yeah, that's
The
that'll be fun.
and are you going to try to play music and everything through it?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right,
Because we'll be playing in real time through Pro Tools, and then
right,
just taking a stereo feed into Zoom. So we
right,
will be in sync. The video might be a hair off, but the audio, all the music will be in sync.
right. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Now,
so you can't. It's hard to do that and be socially responsible, but I have a
mm,
setup where we can probably do it.
right, right. Um, what for beer?
Yeah,
Now, the level you were saying, the level 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
Now, uh, what do you have to do to get the level 4 where you can, and are you able to sit and taste the beer almost like a wine taster, right? Is that what it is?
Well, no, that's just a small part of it. There's a study. You have to know the cultural aspects of beer, the chemistry, the styles, which is more the culture,
Uh-huh.
tasting, flavoring. You have to be able to discern off flavors when beers are spoiled through oxygenation, or I wouldn't be able to say that if I'd had too many beers. Oxygenation, or or from sunlight. I mean, there's just it's kind of not it's not it sounds like kind of a joke, but it's and listen, we have fun with it. But the fact is, the knowledge that we have is real knowledge,
Yeah.
and it's the beginning of a journey to that's level one, certified beer server. Then there's first level Cicerone, second level Cicerone, and master Cicerone. And a master Cicerone, I mean, there are only maybe a couple dozen in the whole in North America. It's
Mm.
like gnarly. It's a very
Yeah.
very high level. It's like a doctorate in beer.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I I'm imagining. So in my mind, I'm thinking of the wine taster that goes out and tastes all the wines. But now, especially with all the little small breweries that are showing up everywhere,
Yeah.
and all these specialty beers, and like didn't BJ's uh, Pizza or brewery, wasn't that originally sort of a beer place where you could get pizza? So
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure how it started, but yeah, it's a beer place for sure.
yeah, so when you go to a place like that, it you now are learning how to taste all the different beers, and you might take one and say, "Oh, this really is good," and this is how it tastes, and basically that's what you were able to do.
Well, that I'm able to do that. I mean, you don't want to get hung up on. That's like if you play music and you're always analyzing your chord progressions, and
Oh,
you know. So it turns out you just love music or you just
yeah,
love beer. So, but it's really nice to be able to know. It's just a deeper level of experience when you want to turn it on, and I just fascinating. Beer is fascinating because it's thousands of years old, and
right.
it's it's a very deeply rooted in humanity, and it's this very simple process with barley, water, hops, and yeast. I mean, and
That's
that's
all it
how it
is.
works. That's how it works, you know. And
Yeah,
and then nature just takes over, and then you sort of try to steer nature in a certain direction. But I think it's just like fascinating.
but yeah. Uh, have you ever thought about trying to brew your own beer?
Yes, and now that the isolation has been thrust upon us, it's actually something I could really do.
Mhm.
Um, it's something this isn't something I wanted to do and come home when I have 2 weeks off to try and
Right.
recover, to try and make more beer that I've been drinking,
Hmm.
on the road every day. So, but no, I do have an interest in it just to know. I don't think my beer is going to taste nearly as good as the stuff that I like to drink, but yeah, just to further my knowledge. Yeah.
Well, uh, I think it would be cool that if you started your own little brewery and made it something that you could sell on tours.
Well, that's the steps that are between actually doing that and then transporting beer, producing it, and we've talked with breweries who are some of them are kind of keen to make a foreigner beer.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, I mean there are a couple titles that are instantly like just like too easy, like hop blooded or double vision.
Right.
So double vision IPA. So the names are already in place.
Right.
Yeah, something like that could very well happen. But there's just a lot of to distribute beer and have it have the quality be good, so something you're proud of. It's
Yeah.
a lot of steps.
Yeah. That made me think of Hot Blooded. Now, the, the you sing. How much singing do you do in Foreigner?
I mean I'd sing background vocals of course, but they're for everyone in the band sings. So
Mhm.
there's it's covered.
Yeah.
Um, I don't sing as much as I used to. I used to kind of sing a lot of lead vocals. Now I just sort of it's just background vocals, background vocals. When we go do, we go sit in places, I'll sing some songs. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've kind of let the singing thing has kind of slid to the background a little bit.
Yeah. I saw. I followed through YouTube on a few things, and I saw you and Michael get up on a stage somewhere, and you were just
Right.
both playing guitar and jamming. Now, um, have the two of you thought about making a little record or doing anything solo? Or
We fantasized about that. I think if we got our own stuff out of our system first,
Mhm.
then I think we would move on to that. I think both of us have a lot of stuff we need to do just for ourselves before we would do that. But we play together a lot. We jam all the time on the road.
Mm.
Michael and Jeff Pilson and I
Mhm.
constantly have guitars in our hands. Like every second we're backstage and we don't have to do something, we've got a guitar in our hand. So
Mhm.
we play together a lot. But as far as doing a record together, well, I don't know if you heard the theme song for our VIB, but we threw that together in about like an hour. And that was fun. It was really,
Yeah,
you know,
that's good.
it was really fun. It was really fun to do.
That's
So
good.
we work really well together in every way. So that could happen for sure.
See, now if I could actually play an instrument as well as you guys, I would put together my own little theme song so I wouldn't get told I don't have copyright to this music. But instead all I have this little cajon here in my
Oh, good enough. Just go into GarageBand and pull some samples together like everybody else does.
right. Yeah, just play it. But it's to me it sounds too awful. And what I'd rather do is play something that of somebody who's a friend. So if anybody gets to make money off it, at least a friend will make some money.
Yeah, right,
So
right. Yeah,
are you how many original songs do you have? Do you have a bunch of original songs in the can?
I have so much original material like just floating around, and I'm a finisher in a lot of things. But I think if I really felt strong about me being the singer of my own project, I would wrap a lot of things up. But I really want to work with a singer, and
Mm,
I have a certain I don't want to do blues. I don't want to do like hard rock. I don't even really want to do like rock. I really
mm,
want to do something contemporarily, alternative-y, or, something textural. And I just want a singer who's on that same page. And I haven't really run into them. Listen, and that being said, I don't have a hell of a lot of time every year, but I'm really open to a singer who would want to like work on that kind of music.
well, I noticed on one of your things that you'd played with Sarah Bareilles, and
Yeah,
so what would that kind of voice is that kind of where you're thinking in that kind of
that kind of voice, I would polish her hubcaps.
she's
I mean,
amazing.
that's one of the best voices I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
she's just astounding. So that's not really what I have in mind.
Mm.
But I mean, trust me, if you want to do something, it's, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's one of the best things I've ever worked on, like as far as the vocals and the songwriting and just, yeah, that was amazing.
And what did you do on that record?
Just played a bunch of guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of guitar. Yeah,
Okay,
wonderful.
so I've got that up. Jewel, you play with
I,
Jewel?
I just did one. It was like an award show,
Mm-hmm.
the RMA Awards in Vegas, I think it was. Um, yeah,
And
that's a while ago.
Miley Cyrus.
That was just a recorded version. I can't remember what the song was. Just I never met her.
Oh,
Someone sent me tracks. I remember doing that at home. I did that at home.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of looking at a couple of these names,
Yeah.
but Sarah Bareilles is cool. A guy I really like.
Ooh, so cool. So
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
amazing.
And um, Adam Lambert.
Right. Once again, that was just like they sent the tracks to my house. I can't remember what, I can't remember what song. Isn't that funny? But it was
Yeah,
just one song, just one
yeah.
song.
Well, you know,
And that's where it comes, so like to establish relationships with other musicians and producers. You don't have to know an artist, it's like,
right.
so that was beneficial.
I had Mel Brown as a bass player on, and he does a lot of smooth jazz stuff, and he's friends with a producer in the smooth jazz world that will send him a list of songs, and it'll be track 109, track 40, and they'll just ask him to lay down some bass lines to it, and he says he doesn't even know who did the
Where they
song.
go. Right, right,
So it's one of those kinds of deals. Hey, put a guitar line on this for me.
right, right, right.
That,
He's probably licensing all this stuff. That's probably what
yeah,
he's doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, maybe you could uh, make some little 30-second, 15-second jingles, now, or, little guitar riffs.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be so much content coming out for TV now. And
Yeah.
with all of us sitting in our home, not being able to go anywhere, just,
Right.
if I could play, I'd just put a bunch of stuff together and send them to try to find some producers that are just throwing stuff in placement of movies and
Yeah.
music.
That's very, very competitive. There's a lot of people that already figured that one out, and people that are really, really talented and really, really good at what they do.
And already there,
Yeah, that secret's out.
right?
The line is really long, and the back of it's right up behind me.
Yeah, it's like getting to the grocery store right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
online.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So we've been 57 minutes. We're at 58. We're approaching an hour.
Wow. It just flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, and the only thing that was an issue was you told one story in the
Yes.
middle where the video broke up, and I didn't really get to hear the story, but everything else has been pretty clear and
Cool.
and locked in.
Yeah.
And any last story you want to tell me about any guitar, any of your 50 some guitars?
I'm looking around, and I don't think there's anything that I could reveal that's really that inspiring to me. Yeah. Yeah. They're just, nah, I can't think of anything. Most of my interesting stories occur after the gig.
Oh, all right. And
Yeah.
and so I'm going to be a fan. This is going to be from a fan question that doesn't know any better.
Okay.
What's your favorite guitar in that room? If
Well,
somebody, what's the one you pick the most?
is it the one that I play the most, or the one that I just aesthetically love the most?
The one that you play the most, the one that you like how it sounds the most.
Well, okay. The electric and the acoustic version is.
Yeah.
I actually is that guitar I was talking about with Christina Aguilera. It's this Martin.
And you
That
know what?
Martin.
It sounds good.
Oh,
It
it's
really
it's it's
sounds good.
really really a good guitar. Yeah, it's really really great. So yeah, that is
Is
just a
there,
really
is there
beautiful
anything
guitar.
special about it? It's just a guitar, and it's kind of like maybe a horn would just has its own sound.
It's this model is reputedly a great guitar.
Mm.
So it's no surprise that this model of guitar would sound good from that era. Um, yeah, so it's like if you buy a Bentley, most of them are going to be pretty slamming.
Right?
Just, yeah. So this guitar is not like, I mean, I played ones that are worse. I played a couple that are better, but this one is a really really great version of this guitar.
Right. Yeah.
But the electric one that I fancy the most, not yeah, it doesn't play as great as some other guitars, but the sound that comes out of it is so ridiculous. Um, and it's a Japanese 60s Japanese, like just cheapo Taisco.
Whoa.
But these pickups are called gold foil pickups, and there's a clarity um, and a tone. I just
And I know those are the pickups that came with the guitar.
Yes, yes, and it's just fantastic. Ry Cooter is a person is quite a fan of these pickups. And
Wow.
again, this isn't a secret, but it's just I don't see a lot of people really, busting these out that often.
Hmm.
But it
And they
sounds spectacular.
were they an expensive guitar to start with?
No, no, no. They're like this is like the Japanese version of Sears catalog, Sears Silvertones.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of on that level of construction. Um, but I don't know, the pickups are just really, really, really killer.
It just
And the
sounds
neck is really fantastic on this guitar. Yeah, it's a great guitar. It's really great.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bruce,
Jeff,
thank you for talking to me for an hour and letting me dig into your history a little bit.
that was fun, man.
It,
That was fun.
and uh, I know that I wasn't nearly as entertaining as the VIB thing, so I want to encourage everybody to tune into your VIB. And when does it usually show?
Tuesdays. We usually throw
Tu-
that out at Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, and a
Yeah.
particular time.
At the moment, like I said, we've only done three, so we're still
Okay.
refining the schedule and the whole thing. But Tuesday, probably afternoon our time because it's put out on the East Coast. So yeah,
Okay.
probably mid-afternoon. But yeah, this week will be Kelly Hansen of Singer of Foreigner, and we will be goofing. We'll just be goofing. That's what we do.
You guys are fun. You guys are
Yeah,
fun, man. It's
well,
really
yeah,
fun.
it is. It's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have a blast. We have a blast.
All right. Well, thank you, Bruce, for taking the time. I appreciate it, and I'm going to just close up the show in my usual thing and
Do it,
tell
baby.
everybody good night.
Good night,
All right.
man. Nice to see you, Jeff.
All right.
See
See you,
ya.
Bruce. Okay.